When Chef returned from working in Heston Blumenthal's restaurant in the UK, it was to open her own place, named Ash. This is her second hit restaurant, together with her sister Mandy van den Berg.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for popping in.
Sure, congrats on the new spot.
Thanks very much.
You've done a fantastic job on the decor. It kind of feels like you enter at the tree and then go down into the roots, and it's got this whole magical feel to it.
That's exactly what we're looking to achieve by bringing in all the different types of greenery and having it sort of flow into the venue, and bringing in the wooden elements and the leather and the marble as well. All those really natural elements.
It's also a little bit like walking into a burrow or a rabbit's warren, which is pretty much what we were trying to go for as well.
We're getting more of an idea of why you called it Riverine Rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the Riverine Rabbit is extremely critically endangered. It sort of hails from the Karoo. The reason it's so endangered is because of over-farming, and in particular livestock farming, which fits very well into our ethos of cooking and eating sustainably. There's loads of dishes on the menu that encompass that Karoo feel. Also, a lot of our herbs that we use are sort of the natural fodder of the Riverine Rabbit as well, all cooked over a fire. So it's that natural state between sourcing ingredients from the Karoo, cooking them sustainably for us.
And no, we do not have rabbit on the menu.
No rabbit on the menu, none whatsoever.
The decor and menu are both landing 5-star reviews, with choices from a short 3-course offering to a curated 7-course experience.
So basically we're making a leek dish, which is my favorite dish on the menu. It's like an homage to like a steak in Béarnaise, except there's no steak involved. We're like basically treating the leeks like a steak. So the jasper is at about 400 degrees Celsius now.
I don't know much about ovens or cooking, but I know that this is a very fancy one.
There's not many of them in the country, and it's pretty fancy, even though it's just a big braai. The thing that makes it special is how hot it gets.
This starter almost has a following of its own. A hazelnut breadcrumb mix and hazelnut oil are added to the burnt leeks, followed by pickled lemon and a burnt butter sauce.
The absolute last thing we're going to do is add some local grana padano. It tastes a lot like parmesan, but it's made locally. Obviously, parmesan isn't local. That's our burnt leek dish.
Oh man, my mouth's watering. Can't wait to taste. But we have to wait though. We have to continue.
Ash has set up a sustainable seasonal supply of produce, like these hand-caught harder fish. Buying them supports local fishermen, and she also uses the app Abelobi to get the ecological story behind the seafood she buys.
Hard is on the Sassy Green list, so that's something very important that we keep in mind when we are using any seafood. And I was lucky enough to receive the 2018 Trailblazer Award from Sassy. It's very important that, you know, we respect that organization and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So it will crisp up ever so slightly more in the jasper when we pop it in to finish it.
Okay.
But we do want like a good sort of base crisp on this.
How's that one looking?
That looks amazing.
Chef uses her Spanish-made oven like a precision instrument.
Right, and just like that, they're done.
Yeah.
It's like a magic oven. You just chuck it in, 5 seconds later,
It's
things
actually
cook.
just a really big microwave.
Now the fun part, we make it look pretty.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a bit of garlic butter left over here. We're gonna take our spinach. I've got a couple of limpets here. I've got some sea lettuce here, which is actually just seaweed. These are wonderful. This is called ice plant. We've got some trout eggs and we've marinated these in some soy sauce.
Okay.
And then we've got some sea fennel. And the last thing we're gonna add, I've made a broth. It tastes like a rock pool, but like not in a bad way, hopefully. Yeah.
Tastes like a rock pool.
And yeah, it's local. It tells a story.
Now we've got to chat about all this awesome body art here.
Every time I go to a new city or a new place, I normally get a new tattoo. All of them have really different stories. I mean, from my time in the UK to my time in Charleston in South Carolina, and some of them are literally just because I like the art.
And the rabbit, does it have to do with the
rabbit is actually from Alice in Wonderland.
You're running out of space.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got my legs and stuff. So it's fine.
You just got to keep that clean.
And nothing from the collarbone up is the deal.
Book the chef's table and you get to live a while in Ash's world, surrounded by her art, cookbooks, and with dishes served by Miss Heeger herself. Joining John was food blogger and reviewer Megan Daniels.
Hi, Megan.
Hey,
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
You too.
What are the most important elements you look for when reviewing a restaurant and its food?
I think ambience is very important. Is there music playing? What's the vibe when you enter? I think food is definitely the obvious one. And then I'd say the purpose of what the restaurant is doing.
It's taking a lot of restraint from me not to cheat and have some tasters earlier.
Wow. I absolutely love the umami that's coming through from the burnt butter sauce. I think you've got the sweetness and the smokiness of the leek, the pickle of the lemon, which actually brings a sweetness, and you've got that crumb of the hazelnut that kind of pulls through the hazelnut oil.
This is a very special one to prepare. It was almost like standing on the side of the ocean and just picking things and smelling things. It was a great experience to prepare it. Okay, tuck in.
I think it's absolutely incredible how Ash has taken an incredibly underrated fish like the harder and centered all these incredibly seasonal umami flavors around it to actually make something so beautifully rounded.
Dessert was a sweet cream parfait with strawberries and shortbread crumble.
Thanks so much for having me. Definitely a place that has burrowed its way into the heart of Cape Town.
I like that. Very cute. Ash, thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for coming through.
Diners from the UK to Europe and the US give Riverine Rabbit top marks.